This is The Extra Point, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast, sponsored by your Phoenix Suns.
All right, it is the greatest week of the year in the Valley of the Sports, as decided by me, Nick King here, along with Zach Prelutsky, Joe Farris behind the glass. WM Phoenix Open, teeing off today. Zach, what's your excitement level for this?
It's pretty high. I feel like we got a great field. I think that's like one of the best parts as a golf fan about this tournament is you get all the big names for the first time all season really in a tournament together. Scottie, Brooks, Spieth, Xander. I could list them, but it feels like we're finally going to get some PGA Tour level drama in golf this weekend. Yeah,
it's the best field of the year so far, and it's one of the better ones that we've had at this tournament in the last couple of years. The weather is unbelievable. It is so perfect. I still have nightmares about 2 years ago when everything was cold and rainy and muddy and sloppy, and it was a disaster. And we're sitting in the 80s this week. It's just perfect for golf. So I would say that the guys that you mentioned there are pretty much the biggest ones that I have circled. Get to the reasons why. But let's start with Scottie, because he's legit playing at levels that we haven't seen since Tiger Woods in his prime. And in a lot of ways, it's comparable statistically. He won his first tournament of the year. He was the player of the year like the last 3 or 4 years before that. And this tournament, like he loves TPC Scottsdale, thrives here. Won it in 22 and 23, finished third in 24, finished maybe like 20th or 25th last year. But of those 5 years, or 4 years, his last like 20 rounds here, 9 of them 5 under par or better. I think it might be like his best course that he plays at. And speaking to how dominant he is right now and how no one else is in his league, maybe the only guy is Rory McIlroy, who's not here. Like the betting odds are absurd.
Yeah, I think he's plus 225 on DraftKings, which insane for a golf tournament when you have 150, 160 guys to be basically a 2-1 favorite to win. And I think about Scottie, this was his first PGA Tour win back when he won the WM Phoenix Open for the first time. And you mentioned he won 2 weeks ago in the American Express, his first start, didn't play last week. He just feels like it's almost over already. Even if he, comes out today and shoots, isn't at the top of the leaderboard, just the name strikes fear, I think, in golfers similar to Tiger. His history here has to strike fear into the fellow golfers. And, if you're grouped with him on Saturday and Sunday, especially Saturday with that crowd, watch out.
There's an air of inevitability around him that if he's playing in a tournament, like, good luck. He's going to have to be on his B or C game, and you're going to have to be on your A+ game to beat him. And one of the reasons I think he's really good at TPC Scottsdale is because desert golf there are more targety golf courses in Arizona, but it's a little bit of that. Precise irons is key. And I don't know who's better than him at putting the ball within 10 feet on his approaches. And it's not like, there's nothing about him that's going to blow you away. Like the way he swings and, just the way it looks. Like I think Rory McIlroy looks so much prettier and so much more impressive. And like the way that Phil used to play was so much fun. And Tiger was just this, there was a dominance in the way he swung the club. I don't really see any of that in Scottie, but it's just consistently really, really good.
Yeah, and this course, yardage-wise, it's an average length PGA Tour course. I think last week the South Course at Torrey Pines was one of the longer ones that they're probably going to see all season. And you talk about his, approach shots. If you're within 190 yards, Scottie's the best in the world and has been for a few years, and it's not even close. So, when you have a course where if you go a little bit off the fairway, you're not going to be terribly punished. and you don't have to hit it 350, 400 yards to get within that iron play, yeah, he's got a great chance this week.
Is there anyone else that you circle and you're like, all right, if someone's going to beat him, this is my guy?
Someone's going to have to beat him. What I think is interesting about this tournament, and you look back, it's a lot of first-time winners. Last year, Thomas Dietrich, first-time winner. Scottie, when he won his first-time winner. You go back to Brooks Koepka. He's now Brooks Koepka, but he started with a win at the Phoenix Open 11 years ago, I believe, at this point. So it's always interesting that it feels like sometimes it's, a few years ago, Sahith Theegala tied for third with that sponsors exemption. So there's always some dark horse names. And it, even with a stacked field pretty much every single year, it's not always the top guy. But so far this year, Sahith, he finished 2 top 10s already this season. He likes this course. He's played well at this course. He seems like he's healthier or healthy compared to last year, finding his form. And, that's just a name that I think I wouldn't be shocked if he was up there at the end of the week.
And people love him here. So whatever it was, 3 years ago maybe that he was on the sponsors exemption. He was coming out of Pepperdine, was new to the tour. And he might have been tied for the lead or one back when he played 17th hole on Sunday. And the 17th is my favorite hole on the course. It's a drivable par 4. It's about 330 yards, but it plays downhill. And not that 330's a problem for most of the guys on tour anyway. But it plays just a little bit downhill and it'll run up. But you got water on the left side, and it circles all the way behind the green. And Sahith got like this outrageously unlucky bounce on a great drive, and it caromed left. And if it was 1 yard right, he would have been on the green putting for eagle, and instead he was in the water, and that's why he finished third. And then he was like in tears after the round, like hugging his family, and it was all people just loved him, and that has maintained every year that he's been back here. And I think he's become like a guy on tour. He plays in the TGL. Like, people know him. People like him now. So I dig that. There are only a couple of guys that get selected to do a pre-tournament press conference. So on Wednesday, it's Scottie Scheffler and Brooks Koepka, who have both won here twice. Tuesday, Sahith Theegala doing a press conference. Or maybe it was Wednesday. One of those days. But like that's kind of where he is here. The other person that I circle that you mentioned is Xander, who was top 5 in the world. Didn't play here the last couple of years, or top 10 in the world. I think he's number 8 right now. But he's always been really good. He was in the last group on Sunday at least once, if not twice, in a 2 to 3 year span. He finished top 3 twice. He's got 4 top 10 finishes. Played here 6 times, never finished worse than 17th. So it's a course that suits him well. Mentioned Jordan Spieth, who, another guy that people love, and everyone remembers how exciting, well, he's still exciting to watch, but how both exciting and good he was in his early 20s. Going back a decade plus at this point when he was winning majors. But Spieth's been really good here. Nobody in the field has had more Phoenix Open top 10s than Jordan Spieth. And even when he's been struggling and not at the top of his game in the last couple of years, a lot of times he's in one of those last groups on Sunday.
We could just throw out names for the entire podcast, but one more that I will throw out, Hideki. He's won here in the past, has had success. He tied 11th last week, and just another one of those guys where, you just feel like if the precision is there and his irons are hitting the way he wants to, like, he can play up there with anybody.
Yeah. He won 2 years in a row, and I feel like he had a 3rd place finish another year, and a 2nd place. It was a 4th place finish and a 2nd place. Hasn't been as good here over the last 8 or 9 years as he was from like 2014 to 2017, but last week in a good place. trying to think of anyone else. It's like there's a handful of guys who live in Scottsdale because golfer's paradise. You know, probably the bulk of the PGA Tour guys live in Florida, but the other kind of hot spot is here. So that's like Max Homa, Wyndham Clark, Tony Finau, JJ Spawn, who won the U.S. Open last year, Nick Taylor, who 3 years ago finished second, 2 years ago won here. There's probably someone else that I was forgetting. Joel Damon, who's here on a sponsor's exemption. I think Homa and Damon are two guys that are really well liked by the golfing public at large. Damon a lot because of Full Swing and how much he was featured on there.
And he had a great week last week, too. He was in the final group with Justin Rose, who just obliterated Torrey Pines.
Yeah, so Damon wouldn't have even been in the field at the Farmers if Brooks Koepka didn't come back to the PGA Tour. So because of Brooks, they had to add two other golfers, both last week and this week at the Phoenix Open. And Damon was like last or next up on the list of alternates. So he gets in the field, and he was in second place going into Sunday. I think it was still maybe a top 10 finish, but yeah, playing in the last group. He's not really played well here, but 4 or 5 years ago, famously took his shirt off on the 16th hole. And so every time he comes back here, people will chant at him, especially at 16, "Take it off, take it off," which is something I know that's been chanted at you several times in your life.
Yeah, only on 16, though. Only on the 16th hole.
Did you get to go out to 16 last year? Have you experienced the Coliseum?
I was in... So 2 years ago, actually 2 years ago this week is when I moved to Phoenix and joined Arizona's family.
It was the week of the Open that you got here?
It was the week of the Open. Great. I got trained very well and, just crazy. And I was at the Open on that Thursday. I had a friend who was in town for a work event. We were in one of the skyboxes on 16 on Thursday.
Wow, aren't you special?
Well, it was pouring rain. We saw maybe 3 groups go through before they called off play for the rest of the day. And then last year I went into the grandstands for a few. So I wasn't there when the hole-in-one was. I was a little jealous of Elliot Polikoff, who was, I think,
R.I.P.
front row with just like when the hole-in-one and, as us journalists do, got his phone out and took a selfie video. My brother was here, I think, right before COVID, so maybe 2020, and was at 16 one of the days that the hole-in-one happened. So I think it's definitely like whether you're a golf fan or not, like 16, the Open, like it transcends the game of golf. It's a pop cultural event.
And I always say, if you're not as privileged as Zach to go to a skybox, GA, so it's going to be a zoo, and the lines to get in are going to be hundreds deep from like 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., especially Friday, Saturday. But I have found that you go there after 3 o'clock, you can usually get in without much of a wait. And it's still pretty bumping in there because people eventually tire out a little bit, and they'll leave that space open. So it's pretty cool to be in there at the end of the day if you want to experience it and not be in line all day waiting to get in.
Have you done the running of the bros?
No, I have not. I don't wake up that early. No.
You've never done any GMAS hits?
No, I leave that to Ian Schwartz. No, I mean it's great. It's one of the special things that the tournament has, but no, I have not participated. The other thing that I'll say, I did a TV piece a couple days ago. I think that low key. All right, let me first throw this out to you. If I say best stretches of holes in golf, what comes to mind for you, if anything?
Amen Corner at Augusta. I mean, you're trying to get me to say 16, 17, 18 at TPC Sky. I mean, the finishing holes at Sawgrass, the Island Green, and then 18.
I think those are the two obvious ones: Amen Corner and the last 3 holes at TPC Sawgrass. with that island green being the star of the show there. But what I believe is that 15, 16, 17, 18 is as good a finishing stretch of golf as there is on the PGA Tour, because 15 is a risk-reward par 5. You got this enormous lake to the left off the tee box, and then the green sits on an island. It is a larger island than a TPC Sawgrass, and so there's like some fairway in front of the green, and there's a little bit of room both on the left and the right, but not much. There's bunkers on both sides, and then just a little bit of grass. So the water's kind of always in play. You can easily get there in 2, but the fairway gets thinner the further you hit it up. So you're playing with fire a little bit. You better be, and the fairway's going to slope a little bit to the left. So anyway, you better be precise off the tee if you're going to get there in 2. 16 would be a forgettable par 3 if it wasn't for the fact that there's 20,000 people in the Coliseum. And then 17, as I said, is my favorite hole. It's a drivable par 4, again, risk reward. And 18 isn't anything crazy. I think at a different time, the water would have been more in play off the tee. But guys hit it so far now that for the most part, they don't have to deal with it. And then there's some Churchby bunkers kind of covering the water on the left, a couple bunkers on the right. It's you can birdie that last hole. Larger point being, those last 4 holes, there's just so much variance there. And so you can go eagle, birdie, eagle, birdie. I mean, you can shoot 6 under on the last 4 holes, or you can hit several balls in the water and shoot 3 over on the last 4 holes. And obviously anywhere in between, but it just leaves it leaves the tournament up for grabs. Unless like last year, Thomas Dietrich was cruising and he put one to like 3 feet on 16 and it was pretty much over. But the last time that Brooks won, he chipped in for eagle on 17, and that changed the tournament. I will never forget kicking myself because my favorite thing to do on Sunday is to walk with the last group or two and just be with the leaders the whole day. And Brooks was like maybe the 3rd to last group that year, if I remember correctly. And I think I was on like 15 green with probably Xander and Spieth when Brooks chipped in for eagle, and you just hear this roar and you're like, that wasn't 16. Like, what happened at 17? And it changed the tournament. And it didn't feel at that moment like he was in position to win, but he gets an eagle on the par 4 and all of a sudden he wins the tournament. And so those things are always in play. And I think it contributes to the tournament just managing to often have drama. 6 of the last 10 years, it's gone to a playoff. And a lot of those years, it's a multi-hole playoff with guys just pouring in birdie putts. It's, if you are not, understandably, a lot of people are at a Super Bowl party getting ready to watch the football on TV. But there's still a great scene around the 18th green when those guys are finishing. And it's one of my favorite things to be out there at the end of the tournament.
I'm not going to try and pretend like the Waste Management Phoenix Open is the 6th major, with the players and the 4 majors. But I think there is something to say that a lot of these guys, they love it. They love coming here. They love playing in this. And I think naturally that just maybe gets them up a little more in the morning, gets them to play a little better, gets the intensity up. And I think all of that kind of goes hand in hand with the fact that you talk about these great finishes because, who doesn't want to go on 16 on Sunday?
Yeah.
Tied or in a lead and, stick one to 3 feet like Thomas Dietrich last year and just get the loudest reception you're going to get all season on the PGA Tour. So I think that's, another thing that just makes it fun. Again, not everybody's a golf fan or is watching the Farmers Insurance or the American Express or the Sony Open on a Thursday morning on ESPN Plus like I am. But, this is one where it's, a lot of people are going to be watching CBS at the Super Bowl party, I think, before or Saturday or, a lot of people obviously come in from out of town to experience this as well.
And a lot of people from the Midwest and the East Coast who are watching on TV And they're like, God.
80s, right? Or is it going to be going to drop into the upper 70s?
It's upper 70s, lower 80s. Either way, it's going to be sunshine.
Perfect.
And you're going to see the mountains in the background, and everyone's wearing short sleeves, and you're like, oh, man.
Well, and now we get a lot of Canadians. I feel like Canadians show up every year. I wanted to ask you guys, before you came here, like, what did you think of the tournament? Did you visit before you moved here? Like, what were your thoughts on the Phoenix Open growing up watching?
You know what's funny is I love golf, and I don't have memories of this being a tournament that I watched, actually. And
it was
maybe
the 16th, and you see clips on social media, and that's kind of it almost, I feel like, for me.
I don't know why that is. I don't know if it was just Super Bowl locked in, thinking football. But it absolutely blew my mind the first year, and I was like, oh, man, I love this. And that's why I say it's my favorite week of the year now. I don't quite have a good explanation as a golf fan for why this wasn't a tournament that I like have memories of watching. I guess part of it, the only thing is like that, the majors, I'm going to be locked in and watch all 4 rounds, but kind of here and there for a lot of the other events on tour. And I think it just fell into that for me, but not anymore.
Well, and like when you go and experience it, and I would go on Saturdays when they tried to push each year for the record. They've kind of stopped that. And it was insane. Like, and you walk out and see that number, and there's like 198,000 people on one day of a golf tournament, and like how that can mess with your head, and like you just, if you're going for the fun, like you see 0 golfers, and you're just going hole to hole, and if you can get a skybox or a greenskeeper or somewhere VIP, like that enhances the experience than the GA, and like you can just have a total different type of tournament too if you go one year to the next just by a pass.
Totally.
And it's crazy.
I actually, I've had 2 days in the last couple of years doing greenskeepers where like I didn't see a shot the whole day, and I was like, this is insane that I can be at a golf tournament like 100 yards from where guys are walking, playing the 18th hole, and I didn't see anything today. And all I heard was like a DJ playing music the whole time. It's ridiculous.
Well, then you factor in like the bird's nest and like the acts they get on that, and that has gotten better and better. I've never experienced the bird's nest, just because it's always crowded and
very
a tough ticket, and the show it's pretty short.
Yeah.
But it's just such a unique tournament, and like it's funny because you pay attention to the tournaments after, and like the Honda Classic would follow it, and it's called something else now, but that's in West Palm Beach, and like they would have like 80,000 for the whole tournament. I'm like, that's like practice round out here.
Yeah, I mean,
it really is.
I've been to the Tour Championship, I think 3 years ago. I've been to a senior PGA Championship. It was in St. Louis, in the home city, and it's just, like Joe said, it's just different. Like, not everybody goes for the golf. If
you might even say not many people go for the golf.
If you go to the senior PGA Championship, you're going for the golf. You're not going there to walk around Belle Reve Country Club.
And the players, almost to a man, will say, every year that I've covered it, we couldn't do this every week. It couldn't be this every week. But as a one-off, it's awesome. Like, love it as a change of pace. And then there are certainly guys who do not love it. Like Rory McIlroy doesn't play here because he's not interested in that. Justin Rose is coming off that big win. He hasn't, I don't know if he's ever played here. If he did, it was like 20 years ago.
Well, and Rory tried to play a couple times, and he just doesn't do well here.
So,
anyway.
Yeah, I believe that Rory's first time here was the 2021 tournament because they were limiting the number of people in. We were still kind of on the still kind of in the COVID zone, and Rory said, like, I figured this would be a good time to dip my toes in the water, see how I felt about it. And then I think he was here the next year too, because it was the first time that it was considered a signature event after Live had been created, and PGA Tour's answer was like, okay, we're going to pick whatever it was, 8 tournaments or 12 tournaments that we're going to ask all our big names to be at, and the prize money is going to be twice as much or whatever it was. And so he played then, but he has not been back since. I think they got rid of the signature events too, or changed something.
The elevated events, is that what it was called?
The no cuts.
Yeah.
I think it's cool being a Sun Devil too. Like Phil loved it here, and I know Rom misses it, and they're on the Live. Rom says he like drives by it being built, and he's like, man, I wish I could play there. And like
he could. He had
an opportunity.
There's precedence now.
So Joe, I'm pretty sure, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure this is the first year of the Phoenix Open in the modern era, let's say, that there is not a single Sun Devil in the field.
Yeah, I know you were going through it, and like there's not a lot in PGA either.
That's the thing.
They've all moved to Live.
It is Live is Sun Devil Central. Because like Billy Mayfair was playing back in the 80s and early 90s. Phil started playing here probably in like 91 or 92 and didn't miss it again until 2019 or 2020. And Phil, by the way, was incredible at this course. He's one of 4 people, I believe, who have won the Phoenix Open 3 times. Him and Mark Calcavecchia are the only 2 to win it 3 times at TPC Scottsdale. And Phil has the most top 10 finishes ever at the Phoenix Open at any course. It's really sad, honestly, that he is not here anymore and that John Rahm is not here. But some of the recent guys who have come out of ASU, so, okay, and even not recent, we go back like Paul Casey plays on Live. I don't even know if like Pat Perez is older now. He was on Live. I don't think he's playing anymore. Matt Jones is an ASU guy, at least started on Live. Not sure if he's still playing. The recent guys, David Puig was a great player at ASU, left school early to go join Live. Jose Le Ballester, who was here on a sponsor's exemption just last year, is now on Live. Preston Summerhays, who was an All-American at the same time as Ballester. I think he's mostly playing like Corn Ferry stuff right now. He could be the next Sun Devil to actually be on the tour. Kevin Yu plays on the PGA Tour, semi-recent grad, but he had to withdraw from the tournament on Monday. And Ches Reavie is an older ASU golfer who has always played here, not in the field this year. So like there is no shortage of Sun Devils who are still some of the top golfers on the planet, but they're not here. And that's weird because like even I didn't get to experience Phil here, but yeah, covering Rahm for the first couple of years, and he would put on the Tillman jersey when he played the 16th hole, and he would wear special ASU golf shoes when he played, and he would get the biggest cheers. And John Rahm played well here. He was almost always in the top 10 at this tournament.
Well, he had that massive putt on 16 probably his last year.
Probably was.
That roar was insane.
Yeah. Yeah. So
leaving room for the Illini to take over. Won it last year. Win it again
Oh,
this year.
Dietrich is.
Yeah.
Yes. Illinois alum. Also now on Live.
We got other Illinois alum. We got Adrian, I'm going to butcher the name, Dumonte Chessart. He's a sleeper. He's pretty good.
All right. If you stuck with us until this point, there you go. A sleeper bet right there.
Yes. Adrian Dumont de Chessart. Say that. I hope that he is in contention on Sunday, so Nick King has to say that full name 6 times in the sports report.
Oh, I love a good challenging name. Once I figure it out and can just say it. Like, yeah. All right. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about this tournament that I must pass on. I think that is it. It was like, wow, the ASU thing.
Well, even it was tough finding locals.
Yeah, probably fewer than most years. I've got 2. Tommy Avant or Avant, I will find out. He got in, so there's always going to be one local representative who's a course pro, teaching pro, Hamilton High alum who now is an assistant pro at Lone Tree Golf Club in Chandler. So he won the Southwest section, something or other that gets him an auto berth. And Matt McCarty went to Desert Vista High School, and he's been very solid on tour the last year and a half, I would say. He went to Santa Clara, if I remember correctly. Definitely a California school, but won like 3 times on the Korn Ferry Tour in 2024 and got elevated to the PGA Tour. Played pretty well, I think, at the Phoenix Open last year.
I think he missed the cut.
What?
If you consider that well.
I would not consider that well. But I saw there's been a handful of tournaments in the last year that I'll look up and see his name in one of the last groups on Saturday or Sunday.
He was top 20 last week.
There we go.
So
last week would count as one of those weeks. All right. We've done our job here. Zach Prelutsky, thank you.
thanks,
Joe
Nick.
Farris, thank you.
Have fun this weekend.
Don't throw anything on the course, and don't yell at golfers while they're swinging.
And don't yell at Nick King when he's...
No, you can yell at me. Yeah, yell at me. See ya.
This is The Extra Point, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast, sponsored by your Phoenix Suns.